Hi, this is James Garno, Tour Live here with the 10th book in the James Bond series. The book I will be talking about today, The Spy Who Loved Me. This is from Triad Panther, and this was originally published in 1980. This reprint is from 1984. It was originally published by Jonathan Cape on April 16th, 1962. This is the shortest James Bond book in the series. This is like only 172 pages, so I decided after I was done with my review of Thunderball that I decided to just read through this in one sitting just to get this book wrapped up quickly. So that way I only have 4 books to go and I'm done with the James Bond series. I'd like to get it wrapped up this month. But holy shit, this is one of the worst James Bond novels I ever read. This is terrible. I have already I've already when me and my dad were doing the James Bond marathon, I think a month ago or so, I looked up, no, not a month ago, like a year ago or so. But when we did the James Bond marathon, I was actually looking up the plots of the novels to see if they were better than some of the films, because some of the James Bond movies are not all that good. Like there's the ones I like and there's the ones I don't like. But this book is terrible. It is just, oh my goodness, this is one of the worst sequels I read in a series. For I don't know what Ian Fleming thought when was thinking when he had this idea, as he really should have consulted with someone with this idea before actually writing it, because this thing is terrible. So I've read the plot. Now I as I said, I was reading the plots of the books, and then I felt this one doesn't really sound good because the movie is completely different from the book of the same name. Like the movie is. I'm glad it's so much better than this book because it's terrible. Ian Fleming decided to try some idea which he thought was brilliant, was having James Bond not the main character. Instead, you follow this normal one who gets mixed up with MI6 and Spectre. And it's absolutely a boring plot. When I was reading this book, it was so badly written. I thought this whole book is a step backwards and forward. I felt like I was reading like a drama romance novel. That's how bad this thing is. I don't like any of the characters. The main character is boring and whiny and annoying at times. There's only 2 villains in this novel, and they feel like cartoon characters. And then it's until towards the end where James Bond finally appears, and I'm like, this is the shittiest James Bond book I ever read. What the hell was Ian Fleming thinking when he wrote this? However, thankfully, with the this book is loathed by fans. Like the negative reviews for this book are high. Like there is very little positive reviews for this book. The fans and critics hated this book, and when Ian Fleming read all the negative reviews, he instantly regretted writing this book. He actually held back on the paperback edition, which wasn't published until after his death, but it still didn't sell well. And actually, I have an interesting story to tell about when they went to make the film of the book of the same, which I'll explain more in my review. But I'm glad Ian came to his senses after this disaster, and then would write a much better book, write a more true James Bond book with On Her Majesty's Secret Service. But oh, this book was terrible. This is one of the worst things I've ever read. Oh man, this is just awful. And in my personal opinion, if you're going to read the James Bond series, make sure to read the original series, not the terrible 75th anniversary edition, which is basically a woke version of all the James Bond books. That is not the true version you want. You want the original, unedited uh, books. But if you go to read the James Bond series, don't even bother with this one. This one isn't worth reading. It's a terrible book. It's not even worth having part of the series. This is a book you can skip. So you don't have to worry about reading this one. All the other ones are more important, but this one, forget about it. Alright, on to the book review. Plot. Vivian Michelle, or Vivi for short, is writing down her diary about a bunch of events that have happened to her. She explains how she escaped London, not wanting to be part of rich parents, and traveled all the way towards Quebec then Toronto to find work at a hotel. She then goes into detail about her love affairs with 2 men. Derek Mulby, a large yet rude man who she breaks off their relationship after exposure while at a movie theater. Her next boyfriend, Kurt Renner, a very young, handsome German, as the two hit off well, but after Vivi informs Kurt she's pregnant, he takes her to Switzerland to get an abortion, then telling her their relationship is over. Heartbroken, Vivi returns to Canada, quits her job at the hotel, and goes to the Auroric Mountains to work at the Dreamy Pines Motel. While working a rainy shift, two large men enter. Slugsy Morant and Saw Horowitz, or as he likes to be called, Horror. The two men begin harassing Vivi along with insulting sexual comments. She tries to call the police, but the lines are cut, then hears gunshots. Vivi discovers they have killed the owners, Mr. and Mrs. Privia. Both Slugsy and Horror take turns beating her and sexually assaulting her till James Bond suddenly appears. The two men try posing as motel employees, but James doesn't buy it, and when he confronts Vivi what's going on, she breaks down and tells him what the two men have done to the owners and her. James gets Vivi into his cabin as both Slugsy and Horror try killing him, but James is able to kill both of them. Vivi is happy and kisses James, which leads to the two having sex in his cabin. James explains that both men were working for Spectre and were attempting to burn down the motel for fraudulent insurance scam. Vivi awakens the following morning to find James Bond is gone but left her a note thanking her for a good time and she should try working at the Alps instead as it's a lot nicer there and more friendly people. When questioned by police, Vivi lies that it was a group of criminals that attacked the motel, then turned on each other, leaving James out of the picture. After thinking it over, she packs her things up and plans to start a new life elsewhere as the love she felt from James Bond is something she'll never forget. The Spy Who Loved Me is one of the worst James Bond novels I ever read. For starters, the idea of making some random normal woman the main character instead of James Bond is terrible. Vivi is so unlikable, whiny, and annoying at times as there was nothing to like about her. The two villains, Slugsy and Horror, felt like cartoon characters the way they acted and talked. There is hardly any action. The whole time reading this novel was boring, and having to read through the dialogue of Vivi wasn't fun at all. I felt like I was reading a badly written drama romance novel than a spy thriller, and there wasn't really a plot to this novel. It just feels so out of place, like Ian Fleming took someone else's novel then just threw in his James Bond character towards the end of it. Why the hell did Ian Fleming think this was a good idea? His publisher should have rejected it the moment they got the manuscript and replied back with a firm tone. Never write a James Bond novel where he isn't the main character or he can find somewhere else to publish his work. As for the 1977 film of the same of Roger Moore is way better than this terrible novel. Just watch the film and avoid the novel at all costs. Overall, I don't recommend The Spy Who Loved Me. One of the worst James Bond novels I ever read. It's just forgettable. Alright, that's the review today. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, The Spy Who Loved Me is the absolute worst book I have ever read in the James Bond series. I seriously wish Ian Fleming, consulted with, some friends of his or his publisher before writing this book, because this is just a terrible idea. Not having a James Bond novel, but where he's not the main character, and it's like instead this normal woman that gets mixed up in a spy affair. This is a terrible idea, and there's no plot to this book. There's no plot to this book. I thought Spectre is burning down motels to cause scam insurance. What does this have to do with world domination? This is seriously a terrible idea. And even Ian Fleming admits this is the shortest book he's ever written, and it hardly took him any time. That right there is a bad sign that you've written a bad book. If you wrote something in a very short period of time without reading it over or consulting with someone over with it, that is a sign you've written something really badly and just want to publish something quickly as possible. There is nothing to like about this book at all. I don't like the main character. I don't like the two villains. Hell, the whole plot is boring as hell. Some random woman that's working at this fancy motel up in the mountains gets harassed by two cartoon characters and then is saved by James Bond at the last minute. This is a stupid idea. What the hell? Oh, there's just so much wrong with this book. It feels very fast. The pacing is way too quick. The dialogue is terrible. Vivi is just annoying and a whiny character. The two villains, Slugsy and Horror, are cartoon characters, and Bond doesn't even really feel like himself. It feels like someone just dressed up as James Bond it stepped in for this part. That's how bad this book is. There's not a single character I like. The whole setting of the book is boring, and I really hated having to read the scenes where Vivi is describing her relationships and stuff. This is boring as hell. Oh, I almost wanted to call it quits a couple times, despite how short this book is. But I thought, no, I'm going to soldier on and finish this book, no matter how bad it gets. I'm going to get it done so I can have a review out and not skip it. It's just a terrible book. Um, Despite how bad it is, I'm glad I got it done with like one sitting, because that's how short of this book is. This book is 172 pages. You could read it in one sitting. That's how short it is. It won't even take you that long to read through it. But overall, my personal opinion, just skip Spy Who Loved Me. It's a forgettable book. It's not worth reading if you want to get into the James Bond series. Just avoid it at all costs. And what's interesting, as I said earlier in my video, because of the backlash was so bad from the fans and critics that Ian Fleming decided to withhold the paperback edition until his death, which the book was later published as paperback. But this book is so bad that when MGM Studios decided to make the next James Bond film with Roger Moore, they decided a wise decision is to not follow anything of the book for the plot from the book. They basically just took the name and then came up with a whole entirely new plot for the film. And then rather than sell, like, when film studios do a movie and it's based off a book, they like to republish it under with the movie poster to increase sales, right? Well, for this one, MGM real MGM's MGM MGM Studios decided that it would be foolish to reprint the original book because everyone hated it, so they just made a novel tie-in to the film, which was a better idea. I wouldn't mind getting that, because at least that's more entertaining to read than this shitty book here. Oh, just I man, oh I really wish the publisher immediately phoned Ian Fleming as soon as they got the manuscript and asked him what the hell did he just send them, and demanding that basically to him to write a proper James Bond book than this pile of shit that he sent them, and they sent the manuscript back with a giant rejected stamp on it. That would, I think, let him know right there then that writing a novel, having a novel, if you're going to do a novel series and you're going to do a sequel where the main character is not the main character in the book, it's someone else, that's a bad idea. Like, you could have the novel follow other characters within the story, but if your main character is not the main character in the book and it follows someone else, it is a terrible idea. It's just awful. I'm just glad this book is just the shortest one, as I was able to get through it quickly despite how terrible it was. But I'm just hoping that the last 4 James Bond books will be a lot better than this one. Alright, that's it for the review today. I hope you enjoyed it. And for the 11th book in the series, I'm almost done. On Majesty's Secret Service. I have read from the reviews that this is a return to form with James Bond, which pleased his fans after The Spy Who Loved Me, so I'm hoping that this book will be a lot better. And hopefully it will also be better than the movie, the only James Bond film with George Lazenby, which I did not like at all, but I'll explain more about that on my book review of this. Alright, if you enjoyed the video, please like it, share it, and please don't forget to subscribe to Octoro Library, the YouTube channel, and the Facebook group of the same name. Please support the review of fiction. Until then, I'll catch you later.